So what do you do when fatherhood is taken away from you? See, in working with men for as long as I have, I've seen this happen over and over again. Whether it's for a few days, months, or years, one parent takes the children away from another parent. And oftentimes for me, that's fathers, and this is who I'm speaking to. See, losing your children is going to feel like losing yourself, losing a fundamental piece of you. It's going to change you. It's going to define you, but it doesn't have to stay that way, and it cannot stay that way. Now, this video is a reply to a lot of the different daily meditations that I do. I email them out on my email list. This is Daily Meditation 189. And when I published it on December 9th, 2024, I got a lot of comments that reflect one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to men, male pain, and especially fathers fighting for custody. I fully understand that most people don't have the time to read my entire writing. Sometimes they're quite long. This one is not too long. But the assumption is that, oh, that hurts so bad. Oh, that must have been hard. And then maybe some positive reframe or direction on what healing looks like from somebody who can't even relate. What's crazy about this whole thing is this is a reflection on the men in my group, the pain that they go through, the pain not just of a few guys out there in the world, but a lot. I get it. It may not be the vast percentage of men out there or fathers out there, but it very well can be. This problem is real and common, and it's not going to be fixed by simple answers or this minuscule acknowledgement. And in a way, that's so insulting for men going through this pain. Men in our culture have consistent pains that they have, and they're constantly given quick fixes and easy answers and solutions which don't work, which ultimately diminish their pain. And before they can even talk to express themselves, there's a whole community of people saying that they understand their problem when they don't. See, a custody battle for men isn't just legal. It isn't just emotional, it's both, and it's so much of both. Any man, especially if he comes to my group, is going to learn a lot about the law, learn about how to navigate the court system, and at the same time navigate the crazy emotional side of it. In that emotional side, mixed with this legal side that is just so deafening, impossible, huge setbacks, immensely frustrating in all these different ways, and all at the same time you're being challenged with possibly not seeing your kids, somebody gossiping about you, the stress of the loss of a relationship, different guilt, and so on. You are tested every single day on what is your worth and what is the worth of continuing. How do we not just continue with this case? How do we not find meaning in ourselves? How do we find meaning in what it means to be a father when we can't be one? And when we hit barriers over and over again, culturally or with people giving advice on this that are supposedly helping, it's often pretty easy to quit and give up. You know, I have many different videos on how men unalive themselves in this situation. It's super common. Many people joke about it or write it off or acknowledge it, but don't really help with it. And it's just terrible, but it is for real. And to be honest, with what I see in helping men in this, I'm surprised more men don't. I don't think it's a good thing. I don't want to encourage you to. I want to encourage you to get help. But in seeing how much we always say to get help and how little actual help is out there, man, we as a culture, we have blood on our hands and we're going to have more. What we do to men is atrocious. See, when you're a man and you have lost your kids, when you've been a father by any degree, it doesn't have to be a lot of time. You don't have to be super dad. You are a father, and when that is taken away from you, it destroys you. It's a new kind of pain. For guys who have lost their kids, there's a piece of you that is gone, that is forever changed, that you're in deficit of. Your friends give you crappy advice on it. Other guys who've gone through this and maybe it was really bad have forgotten just how bad it was or what they did. It's like, get a hobby, get over it. This is what I did, it'll work. It's crazy because when I watch in real time man after man go through this every single day of the week in my groups and my communities, helping guys in this, offering them legal guidance, having them work with legal assistants, having therapists come on the calls, work with them directly, having myself build intimate relationships with them and coaching them through it. I do think you should get a hobby. I do think that time in between now and the future is going to help with this. But man, that is not the only thing going on. There's tremendous pain in this. And the more we don't see that pain, the more we discount fatherhood, masculinity, the potential of human change in that, and we no longer leave a place for wisdom to fulfill us. And literally, we have an empty society, in my opinion, working with these men and helping fix them. If we follow the social narrative of what most men say is going to help in a divorce and a custody battle, we're basically left to getting some power, some cheap thrills, having a highlight reel in our life speak for what's supposed to make us great. And from that, there can be no greatness. Anything that's good about men or women is killed off by the social narrative of our culture and us buying into it. So the more that we fear this pain as a culture, the more that we don't see it, we rely on a quick solution to get rid of it, the less we see men actually turn great amounts of pain into a great life. And see, the thing is that the fires of pain sculpt a man. The pain that you go through, yes, it changes you, it defines you, and what you do with that is what is going to create some of the most fundamental goals of integrity, of fortitude, of who you are and strength. Pain will make us sink, or it will make us rise, not for revenge, not for anger, not for proving that we're better in a cheap way, but testing the trueness within us, because this is the part of humanity that's great, and this is the part of fatherhood that is great. Now, I want to tell you, these aren't just words to have you buy into some like cheap philosophy and go, man, I'm going to get through this day. One of the fundamental things in my groups is that we live by this. We live that there's a worth to masculinity, a philosophy, a belief, something that is within you. That yes, we as men, we as fathers may unify on it, but in reality, it's yours. It can never go away. It's going to shape the greatest things about your life, and it should. And in our modern culture, we are going to be guaranteed certain forms of pain, certain pains that we can't run from. As fathers, if we go through a breakup or a custody battle, that's going to be one of them. And we need to start cultivating the wisdom from that, the trueness from that. And something that, I've seen in my whole career of working with men for 18 years that I just don't see people talking about it. I see people talking about the concept of pain into good or how we can get over certain things and get stronger, but I don't see communities of people really doing that. And when we go through custody battles or hard times, it's almost impossible to find a guy that can actually guide you through this. You hear guys talk about it, you hear guys fitting the image of it, producing videos of it, but we don't have actual men that we could talk to that have been shaped by pain. We have men that have been shaped by, in my opinion, fear to look good, to embody the image of what a culture starved of masculinity seeks, but I don't see real men that you could actually get out and know. It's one of the biggest tragedies, and I think that it's horrible. One of the biggest things that I tell dads that can't see their kids is the role of the father never dies. And this was true for me. I didn't get to see my kids for 5 years. I wanted to have more kids and, went through a custody battle there and was parental alienated from both. What I learned from that 5-year period of not seeing my kids and working with so many great mentors and people helping guide me and having the groups that I built around it and so on, was that you never stop being a dad. And you have to remember that. Your whole reason to be a dad might be to be there at night, to lead them, to teach them different things, to guide them in so many different ways. But as those things are taken away from you, you have to realize your job isn't done. Your commitment isn't done. Now, the other advantage in my group of having a group of men that are dads that could still be married and all these different things, we also see dads who have children who have problems, children who get sick, all these things that happen in a child's life, and those dads have a completely different perspective of how to deal with this. What's crazy about that experience is those men who have children that go through some hardship and their marriage hasn't fallen apart or custody battle ensued or these types of things, or maybe they have both, those dads have such a hard-hitting tragedy, a financial tragedy, medical expenses that go far beyond legal expenses. I mean, you want to talk about a racket. That whole industry is out of control. And these men never stop being dads. Their situation changes, but they have to keep stepping forward. And part of a dad is staying alive, staying healthy, learning things, upping your life, gaining more stability, gaining more financial freedom, whatever it is that is going to get you something more in this culture. We as dads, we need to understand that we need to keep progressing even when we can't see our kids if they're taken away for whatever reason. It is part of the commitment of it. See, if we start to believe that if we can't tuck our kids in at night, or a mother of our kids is making up lies about us and they're believing it, we're being parentally alienated, we have gossip, trash being talked about us, The worst thing that we can do is buy into that and believe it. Every time I bring this up to men, I'm always met with some guilt or a nagging thing in their mind that could be a big deal or a small deal of how they drop the ball as a father. None of us are perfect. I get it. I totally get it. And I'm not endorsing that you make mistakes or do bad things, but these things happen and we have to understand as men that we can change those things and we need to work at them. If you are a father, you are never cut out of that title. And because you are never cut out of that title, no matter what your past is, what situation you're in, you have to keep working at being a father. This is super, super important for you to understand. This is where brotherhood and community and men standing with men and men working with men and men finding the solution to our problems and not just an upset, hysterical culture giving us, quick fixes and all these different things or shaming us as men. We need to find the answer in masculinity, and it is absolutely there. See, this is more than a fight that has to do with just legal outcomes. Those legal outcomes are massively important and huge for you. And if you can get them to go in your favor, it's going to be one of your greatest advantages that you're going to have throughout the history of your kids' adolescence, childhood, and so on. It is going to help so much. But that's not the reality of so many men. And at first it wasn't my reality. And later on I was able to fight to get it back. What is infinitely more important than the legal part of all of this is going to be who you are made from in it. Being able to love your kids from a distance, being able to shape yourself from a distance, being able to still see the future in mind of how those different problems come about. And it gets crazy with the degree of parental alienation that we have in our culture, both for men and women, but again, I work with dads in this. Those kids that come out of believing that their father or mother or whoever abused them and hated them, that's going to cause severe damage. This massively changes their life. They're going to need a father that is stable. They're going to need a father to go back to. I tell this story over and over again is when I first started coaching men in 2006, what I saw was I'd have these guys fill out these profiles to work through their dating and whatnot and how to present themselves, is every single dad that came from a broken home where the mother got custody, that mother sabotaged the relationship between that boy and their father. And if they had sisters, it was the same for them. At some point in every single one of those cases, that boy became friends with that father, whether it was at 16, 18, 25, 30, but at some point in that boy's life, they reconnected with that father. It wasn't easy. And in that boy who eventually hired me realized that their mother had lied to them. And this was just a terrible thing. This built this odd conflict of loving their mother and having their memories built by their mother, but also disliking, resenting, and hating their mother. It's a huge point of confusion. What was so important about those boys who became men whose relationships began to build with their father at a later age was that father could be guiding. That father could help them with new problems that came in their life. I don't want to sit here and guarantee that your reunification with your child is going to be good. What I do want to guarantee is it's going to be long and it will be bad if you do not build good traits within yourself. There's a whole bunch of reasons to blame. Our culture and society is totally screwed up. What you do with this pain is so important for your future and the opportunity to be able to build relationships with your children. Part of being a good man and a good father in this modern world where fatherhood is taken away from us and oftentimes diminished is that we have to be able to find strength in all of this. If we don't, generations of good dads, and already have been, they will become more wiped out. We will lose our points of reference culturally of good men who have come out of hard pain. This hard pain is amplifying even louder and louder and getting more consistent in our culture. Being a father that can become a great man when he has to be a father at a distance or completely separated from his kids needs to be a dad that can be honorable, that his kids can look up to in pride when they have the opportunity to be reunited. And why this is so important is because our culture is going to get more distracted, refracted, and crazy and chaotic. The generation of your child, your kids, is going to have greater problems, and they're going to need strong men to look up to. It's so important that you find wisdom in this. It's so important that you make this good. And I get how hard that is. It was hard for me. There's no set one way. I wish that this was a rite of passage defined by a culture that had a culture of elders to help guide us. But the few generations before us, man, we killed that off. And see, this is a battle. It's long. It takes time, because all great things take time. We cannot for any longer afford to cheapen masculinity, to cheapen fatherhood. We can't reach for just what makes us feel good right away without considering how that might create a flaw in our future. We need to build things that are made of wisdom, that are made of integrity, that are forged from valor. All we have in this world is what we create. Our kids, our mindset, the lives that we build out of broken bricks, shattered hearts, and futures that have disappeared and blown away in the wind. This is our material to build the future for what our kids are going to walk on, our grandkids are going to walk on, in the many different generations that come after us. I believe it's so important for us, men, women, humanity, to understand that our actions now will create a future, and we need to be responsible for that. We need to take ownership of that. If we go back to the Daily Meditation 189, it starts off with the title, Fatherhood, the Battle You Didn't Choose. Some of the greatest lessons in life emerge from the hardest losses. And in the meditation, it ends with, so once again, I ask you, what do you do in hard times? I'd love to know what you think. And if you'd like to put comments, reply to this video, tell me your different thoughts. I would love to hear, because if there's one thing for certain, if we can be judged by our past and our past habits, I'm probably going to be working with men on difficult issues for a very long time. Please like, share, subscribe, check out my different meditations and whatnot by following my Instagram. You can also follow me on YouTube, where hopefully you're watching this, TikTok, and Facebook, which is also where my meditations go. If you'd like to be on the email list for my meditations, just let me know. And hopefully at some point, maybe when you're watching this, there'll be a website that has them all neatly organized by theme and all that sort of good stuff. We'll talk to you guys soon. Stay strong, stay alive, and understand that there's something within you that is more pure, that is greater than what this cultural megaphone is telling you. And it's our job to cultivate that, build that into something great, and bring it back to this culture.